Let's talk about the Angular 1 directives that we had to learn to use Angular 1. There were a lot of ng, if, ng4, and a lot of different things that we needed to learn to start using our Angular 1 applications. For instance, we had to know ngblur, ngclick, nghref, ngsource, ngcloak, nghide, ngfocus, and you kind of get the idea there. There's a lot of them. When I was looking through the docs and trying to give a count, it was actually over 70 until I gave up. Now the cool thing about Angular 2 is that the learning curve for learning all of those Angular 1 directives is now gone. Angular 2, we have the brackets, which are property bindings, and the parentheses, which are always going to be event bindings. The best way to look at this is that the property bindings, data flows into it one way, and for event bindings, data flows out of it one way. Now this goes back to the structure and architecture of Angular 2. The really cool thing is that everything is one-way data binding. In Angular 1, we had two-way data binding, and it would actually mess up our applications and slow them down because of all the things that had to be watched and adjusted and updated. Now, in Angular 2, event bindings will flow data up to our application, and then once our parent components get it, it will use property bindings, and all property bindings on child components will automatically get updated. So we just use one event to go and pass information up. Then Angular 2 will handle all of the propagation of that data all the way down our application. We'll see it in practice here soon enough. Now, if that's a little bit harder to grasp, let's go take a look at what happened in our application already. Right now we have an event binding which handles a click, and data flows out of this into our class here, and we handle that here. And then once this is bound and set, information flows into this property binding here. So it's flowing out one way and flowing back in the other way. That's why our class.active gets updated. It's actually doing the same thing for all these interpolations as well. So we use an event to update data, and our class will go ahead and pass that data to all of the property bindings, including interpolation, and show that across all of our templates. The really great thing here is that this is one of the big reasons why Angular 2 has such a performance benefit over Angular 1. This one-way data binding is much easier to predict and easier to manipulate. And just because we're actually doing one-way data binding all over the place doesn't mean that we don't have two-way data binding anymore. That's one of the biggest parts of Angular 1, why it felt like it was so cool to work with, and that's really the first time I kind of saw the magic in two-way data binding. When you start updating an input field, then something else in the template gets updated, and that was just one of the coolest things ever. Next, we're going to take a look at how Angular 2 handles two-way data binding.